Hey everyone. Well, social media is kind of on fire right now because everybody's arguing about this Supreme Court ruling with the Colorado baker. Just want to give a few of my thoughts on it. The first thing I want to say is that I understand why my leftist friends and my secularist friends are concerned with this ruling. We certainly don't want a situation where businesses are refusing people on the basis of their religion or the race of the person or anything like that. My position on that issue is the Constitution does not allow the government, for any reason, to tell a company who they can and cannot do business with if they're a private corporation. Now, if it's a federal funded thing where like a company's getting subsidies or things like that, then it kind of becomes more murky there. But like for something like this bakery that's a complete private corporation that's attached from the government has no right to tell them who they can do business with and who they cannot. It's up to the owner of the bakery. And that may result in some things that some of us may not like. Now, as for me, I support the baker's decision, and the reason why is because bakery is an art form, and an art is, more or less an expression of the heart. And if I'm an artist and I have to do something against my own principles, against what I feel inside, and I have to bake, in this sense, have to bake a cake for a wedding that I just don't agree with ethically, and then I feel like I'm being forced to participate in something I don't agree with. That's a problem, and it's pretty traumatizing, for anybody, especially if they're an idealist. It's very painful to be forced to do something that's against your ethics, and that's the kind of thing. Like for a lot of people, it could haunt them for quite a long time after it happened, maybe even perhaps for the rest of their life. So I do think that in this case, I agree with the baker on this. Now, if this was something where let's say that Walmart for some reason came out and said that they were going to not do business with a certain race, obviously I'd stop doing business with Walmart. But I think that the best way to deal with these kind of things is just to let the people deal with it, not the government, because we don't want to give the government the power to be able to control private corporations and and then eventually our own lives. So it's kind of a slippery slope there. Now, this ruling is narrow in scope, and what that means is the ruling only applies to this one particular case. But I do think it sets a legal precedent. I think that because of the way this was ruled, I think that in the future we're going to see a wider scope ruling from the Supreme Court on this issue. And I anticipate, if the composition of the Supreme Court remains the same, that private corporations will be able to indeed refuse service for any reason. And the reason why I think that is because, in this case, one of the reasons cited for this ruling in this particular case was the gay couple was apparently hostile towards Christianity, and it was very clear that they bypassed so many bakeries to go to this particular bakery. It just seemed like they were going to stir crap. Even the Supreme Court pointed that out in the ruling. But the thing is, it's really hard to discern what people's intentions are in a lot of cases, especially ones where it's more of a crime of the mind and not really like a physical crime like murder or things like that, where you can see premeditation going up to the point of the murder or lack of premeditation or what have you. So I think we're going to see a wider scope ruling, because there's not really a good way to tell what someone's intentions are whenever most of what happens is inside the mind. And our legal system is supposed to be functional, so we have to have our laws in a way that where if there are factors that determine how we rule for something, they must be tangible and they must be applicable to a wide scope of situations. I just don't see where we could get anything like that for trying to determine whether a private company should be able to discriminate or not. Unless it's something like being government funded or something like that. I think that would change things. Because of the different laws that have been imposed through the IRS and things like that. Or concerning the IRS, rather. So I do think that we'll be seeing a wider scope ruling in the future because of this, where all private corporations are going to be able to just refuse service for any reason. And again, I just want to emphasize that it shouldn't be, we shouldn't have the government police corporations on how they do business or who they do business with. And the reason why is because, as an entrepreneur, I don't want the government telling me who I can and can't do business with, and I don't want them telling me how to run my businesses, or my ministries, or anything like that. That's why my ministry is not a 501c3, because I don't want the government telling me what to do and telling me not to talk about politics or issues like this or anything like that. So that's really my thoughts on this. So if you have any thoughts, just leave a comment, regardless of whether you agree or not. Just don't be a jerk about it. And I'll see y'all next time.